The next area we'll get into is the content that you can control. And within the CMS Lite, we use pages within sites. And what you'll notice is you can get there either by clicking pages and then, filtering down through the site that you want, or you can get there through the site and navigate to pages. One of the best things you can do is if you're like, well, how do I get to this? Anything here in the middle, how do I get to this to edit it? Well, just look for the URL, look for the site, and you go to the correct site over here. So I know IT Portal is the CMS Lite, and so I'm just going to go to Sites. I'm going to go to CMS Lite. I'll go look for that home.do, and then I can come in and edit the page and see what's on the page. And this is where you'll kind of see how the site's kind of put together. You'll notice that I have drop zones on the page. There's usually there's a left, right, and middle, and you can define that all at the page level, but I can also move stuff around. So if I wanted to put this on the right side as opposed to the left side, I can drag it around. Some things you'll notice you can't touch. So like I can touch this and these things, but everything else, when I mouse over it, it doesn't give me the option to edit those, because those are controlled via the template, via the layout. So I have those automatically in there, so you don't ever have to worry about them. They'll be always included on your pages. But if you wanted to move some of these around, you could. A quick way to get in and edit them is, if you want to try to figure out, well, I want to change something on this right column, I can just click the edit button and get right into it. So we have all these pages. At the page level, you have, I'll go back to where I just was. I'm going to go back to my service desk. And so under home, I've got the home button here and the home page. There's a couple things that I want to show you. So I can define at the home level whether I want, or at the page level rather, whether I want no right sidebar, no left sidebar, or full width. So you get the options. So for instance, on the live feed page, you'll notice that it expands across the whole width of the page. And that is because under live feed, if I go back to live feed, I've got full width checked. You'll notice that on the knowledge detail, on the knowledge detail page, that I've got no left sidebar. And so what I'm doing there is I'm saying if I want to go look at a knowledge article, hold on, that I've got no left sidebar because I want more space on the left, and then I want the right column to show. So I can also say no right column, and then it'll just give me a big space out here as opposed to full width. So it gives me the option to kind of have different layouts depending on what I'm working on. And I can also change the title. So I can, at the knowledge level, as soon as I type this in, like knowledge detail, if I save that, now when I go look at the knowledge detail, you'll notice that there is now this page header at the top that's controlled from there, and as well it changes the tab to show that name. So it's just a nice little function. If you don't want that, you can just remove the name from the title, but if you wanted to add like a page header, it's kind of a nice option that spreads all the way across. So now that I've removed it, it should be gone. So that's it on pages. Really, there's not a whole lot to it. If I wanted to, create a new page, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll go find one that's similar to what I like. So I'm going to go over to my, pages. I like the knowledge detail because I want no left. I want the right as well. So I'll put in like my new page, and I would just do an insert and stay, and then I could work on it. If I wanted to edit the page and add something in here, I can click add content. When I click add content, I get down here my drop zones. So you'll see there's a secondary content. So if you're not on the home page, it's considered secondary. So I can put something on the left, middle, or right. So if I said that I don't want the left column, I shouldn't put something in the left drop zone. Pretty obvious, but I thought I'd say it. If you're on the home page, there's actually there's kind of a different layout. So if you wanted a full width thing, just drop it here. If you wanted to have kind of a bigger and then a left area, you'd put it here. This is just specific for the homepage, but this helps you kind of define where you want either a new catalog block. You can drop in something here. You can look for one that's already out there. So CMS Lite, and I want the home slider. So I could drop that. I could just click on it and then tell which drop zone I want, and it'll put it in there. So drop zones are pretty cool in that sense, because it makes it really easy to reuse blocks that you have and put those in. Let's see. You also have what are called dynamic blocks. We've kind of covered pages. That's how you can tell even within the site that there's which pages are included with yours. So you can always get there as well. And they all come pretty standard. They're pretty consistent. Although I think I just covered over my knowledge detail page. So I'm going to change that back. Let's go double check. Make sure that it's all good. And it is. Okay. Got to be careful. Let's see. So now that I have my pages, you'll also notice that on each page there's these little items here, like the My Recent Reads, or like on the home page specifically, I've got this little item here on the right. This is just a dynamic block that I have loaded onto the page. All the dynamic blocks are listed under content. You could see it here. I've tried to name them accordingly so you make sense, like home right column is the thing I was just referencing. So if you wanted to change something in here, you could go through and just change it very easily. So all your dynamic blocks are in here. Just know that for the most part, every site is sharing these. So if you change one, it's going to affect your other sites too. So just make a copy if you don't want it. If you don't want it to mess with it. So like for instance on here, this IT service catalog, I could go look under, I believe it's called, let's see if it's on here. Let's type ahead. Oh, it's actually a list. So it's a dynamic block called lists, and here's the IT service catalog. And so what I'm doing here is saying, let me go through the SE category, and here's my query, but then I'm using this type to render it the right way. So the type then controls how this list shows up. But it's considered a dynamic block, or a content block. It's just not a dynamic block. It's called a list. So it's still underneath this area over here on the left. But we have our dynamic blocks. And then we have there's a concept called messages, which I know you probably have heard of, but it's great, especially if you have a demo site that is going to be using any kind of localization, because it allows you to put things like welcome, this word welcome, or log out, or what do you need help with today? All of those things you can control in a central place from a coding perspective, and then render them in different languages if you really wanted to. So I have all those listed here under messages. You'll see some of the items here, like the copyright message, any of that. So when in doubt, you can look there first. I already referenced lists, but we have a couple on here. We've got the IT service catalog. We've got, let's see, we've got my recent searches. So on here, you'll see, most, down here, especially in the footer, you'll see most viewed articles and featured items. Those are just some lists that we have in there. And so when in doubt, look at the dynamic block. If it's not there, you can look under lists and see it as well. Specifically for the branded portal, I built this custom block for branded home images. So this guy is one image with a sort of a description and then 3 calls to action. So if you wanted to change that, you would come in here to the branded home image. You could change any of this information here and the background image here. And I have the image size recommendations as well in the configuration document. And then here's my call call to action buttons. And again, I'm using Font Awesome classes for the fonts or for the icons. And then you can just tell it where you want it to go. So that's specifically for branded. You can also use these blocks. So right now there's a block called CMS Lite branded home image. And if I'm on a page, I can add it to any page and use it anywhere else. It just happens to work better on here because it was designed for that. So alerts. So alerts is something that a lot of people have asked for. It's just a simple table. You can come in here and create a new alert. I already have one in here called email outages. Here's the message. Here's where I want to link it to. Here's the, the actual call to action text, and then the class. This is a bootstrap class. There's warning, danger, info. Basically, it's red, yellow, blue, green, something like that. So there's different colors that are associated with it. And you can either just define it as active or starts and ends on a certain date. So if you wanted it to be, I want it to still be active through tomorrow, I could save it. And what you'll notice is that on the layout, there's a little block here that brings in all the alerts. And it's dismissible. What happens is when you click this, it actually drops a cookie on your machine. So if I wanted to inspect the element on the page, I could see under resources that there's a cookie called alert. So if I was demoing and I wanted to, have it show up again without having to go do anything, I could just delete this, come back here, reload the page, and now I have the alert back. So it's kind of a nice thing. It works on all three of the layouts in the same kind of area. You can change it where it's showing up. Like if you want it at the top of the page, what you'll notice is that under layouts, under my CMS Lite layout, there is this thing right here. This is what's controlling it. And basically this tells it which, navigation thing to bring in, but this tells it to bring in the alert box block. And under dynamic blocks, you'll see there's something called alerts block. So you can change it here as well if you wanted to do some things. But that's the alerts. Very simple way of doing it. I'm going to turn it off for now so that it's not there on the site. Iframes, I don't use that much. I'm only using it really to do live feed. And so it's brutal on mobile, so I don't use it very often. I use it for the live feed and for catalog items because they kind of have to be. But everything else is outside of the iframe. But you can add more of them here or use the ones that are here. And then I don't use any real static HTML, but you could, if you wanted to just create a block, call it whatever you want, and then when you go into your drop zones, you can add it to wherever you want on the page. So just straight HTML, you can throw it anywhere you want on the page, and you can add it that way. So that's it as far as content goes, and what I'm going to do is move into utilities as my next video.